Judy's here.
Let's call the October meeting of the Ponca City School Board to order. We'll start with the flag salute and invocation. Please rise and join me in the flag salute.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brett, would you lead us in a prayer, please?
Pray with me. Father, we want to thank you for the many blessings that you bestow on us each and every day. Please keep our students and staff safe while at school, at extracurricular activities, events, traveling to various schools and other communities, and in whatever they do for our schools. With Halloween approaching and the various events, along with trick-or-treat, please protect our youth from harm due to the increased night activities. And also, please be with our men and women of the armed forces as they serve and protect our nation. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Do the roll call, Jan.
Dr. Kincaid.
Here.
Mr. Newsom.
Here.
Mr. Riley.
Here.
Mrs. Troop.
Present.
Mrs. Zimmershed.
Here.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the presentation of the Employee of the Month and Friends of Education. We'll start with the Support Employee of the Month, Mr. Kirk Hollis, District Therapist.
Kirk Hollis, District Therapist, is a remarkable asset to this district. Kirk supports our students with not only mental health needs, but also their behavioral needs, and he advocates for them in all capacities. Kirk has been called upon to assist with a variety of challenges the district has faced throughout his tenure, and it is evident he will step up to the plate without hesitation when given a task, no matter how difficult. In addition to supporting students, he is also supportive of staff across the district. He will take time out of his day to listen to concerns of his peers and offer suggestions if needed, or just lend an empathetic ear. He speaks common language and is the king of analogies. He can be a voice of reason, providing insight and expertise. His messages do not come across as he knows more than others as the expert in his field, though that is exactly what he is. For all of these reasons and many more, Kirk is very deserving of this recognition. However, he will say, he's just doing his job. It is an honor to recognize Kirk Hollis as our Support Employee of the Month.
You don't even have to give a speech.
Unless you want to give words.
Next will be the Friend of Education, and this is First National Bank of Oklahoma, supporters of the Ponca City Public Schools.
All right, East Middle School and Ponca City Public Schools would like to thank First National Bank for their generous contribution to our teachers and staff. We appreciate the donation of the Welcome Back cups containing treats, supplies, and gift cards, and also for the past few years, the donation of the travel expenses for our field trip. All right, you have helped make our school a welcoming and positive place for our staff. Thank you for supporting Team Ponca.
And our last recognition will be the Certified Employee of the Month, Ms. Sandy Hassan-France, Instructional Coach at Union and Garfield Elementary.
I just love her.
Sandy Hassan-Fratz, the instructional coach for Union and Garfield, is the Certified Employee of the Month. Sandy is a dedicated veteran of the Ponca City Public School District. She has served as a classroom teacher and an instructional coach throughout her years with the district. Sandy is an expert when it comes to the Literacy First framework and the assessments that are part of the Literacy First continuum. On any given day, Sandy can be found facilitating weekly grade level PLCs, assisting teachers with curriculum materials, assisting teachers with lesson plans, helping teachers unwrap and clearly understand standards, modeling high-quality lessons, conducting interventions, helping teachers prepare for high-stakes testing, assisting teachers with writing and implementing common formative assessments, analyzing data, and evaluating curriculum. Sandy works hard to build good relationships with her coworkers and is a trusted colleague of other instructional coaches in the district and the teachers at Union and Garfield. She's always willing to assist teachers in growing professionally in any way she can. Sandy always exhibits the traits of a true Wildcat. Before school began this fall, Sandy was told she would be acting as an instructional coach at Garfield as well as Union. Sandy exhibited a great attitude when the news was delivered to her and has been a real team player when it came to filling in the gap regarding this position. She has been serving the staff at Garfield by organizing and facilitating their weekly PLCs. Since being there, she has built relationships with the staff based on mutual respect and trust. Sandy is an extremely detail-oriented person and works hard to make herself familiar with anything new that comes down the pike, such as curriculum materials, STAR testing, and RSA requirements. Sandy understands the art and the science behind a high-quality lesson and is a huge asset to the Ponca City Public Schools team of educators. Congratulations.
If all three of the recipients will go outside, they'll get your picture taken, and be sure and smile because it'll be in the Ponca City News in 3 or 4 days.
And on our website and Facebook.
Who takes the picture?
Chris Adams.
Chris is out
He'll
there.
write that, he'll meet you out there. You're welcome to come back in and
But
stay
you don't
for the
have to.
entire meeting. I don't think we have any takers.
No. Okay, next, we're going to hear from the Woodlands Elementary, Miss Alicia McClellan's 4th grade class. As most of you all know by now, the United Way campaign was very successful for the school district this year, and Woodlands is going to be recognized for their outstanding work, and they're going to tell us what they did.
Hi, my name is Chloe. Hi, my name is Frankie. Hi, my name is Logan. We are students in Miss McClellan's 4th grade class at Woodlands. We are here to talk about what our school did.
We're going to have you present to the Board of Education. This is the Board of Education, so we'll have you present to them so they'll know what you're doing.
We are students in Miss McClellan's 4th grade class at Woodlands. We are here to talk about what our school did for the United Way Drive. Woodlands set a goal to raise $1,500 in what we call the Penny Wars.
The class that brought the most money by weight would win an extra recess. If the entire school reached $1,500, the winning class would get a glitter bomb Mr. Williams' head.
Our class, Miss McClellan's class, came in first place with 83 pounds of change. The entire school raised $1,873.05, which will go to help people in need. Our class glitter bombed Mr. Williams' head. Every student used a paintbrush to paint silver glitter glue on his head. Since we didn't win, we knew that it didn't matter because we were helping others and working as a team. We loved helping make the earth a better place.
Awesome.
Thank you. Good job. Awesome. I want to know about the glitter bomb, Mr.
Yeah, where's
Williams.
the picture?
There has not been a press release. We're still waiting.
And I do like the Woodlands Wildcat sweatshirt. That looks good.
Awesome.
That looks good. But no, excellent job. That was really a good job. You're welcome to leave. You can stay. If I were you, I'd probably leave.
No, it'll be real interesting and entertaining.
Good job, kiddos. Which one was the teacher that you are?
Miss McClellan, 4th grade.
And I can probably sneak you some pictures, Miss Barrett.
I think you need to.
Yeah.
I will get those to Miss.
Was Chris out there still?
You know, I'm not sure, but his office is right there, Mr. Williams, if you want to get a picture of that, too.
Chris?
From Chris. If you want Chris, he's out there. He'll get you in a picture. Be
Yeah.
great. We want the glitter bomb, too.
Do we have any comments from the public, Betty? Okay, we'll skip that. Report with potential board discussions, the building assessment reviews. We'll have Lori Cox from Liberty and Liz Hargraves from Lincoln. Lori's going to go first. She's going to tell us about a new school.
Yeah.
I'll let you know at 7 minutes, Miss Cox. So, you got 10.
So when you do that, I'll talk faster.
Yeah. Yes.
Does this little clicker click to the next one when I want it? Okay.
How you liking it?
I love it.
Love it, good deal.
She's doing awesome, too.
I'm in the meeting.
Liberty is a wonderful staff, very eager.
Good, good, good.
And it's supposed to be warming up.
I wouldn't penalize her for this time, Shelley.
No, I haven't started.
Yeah, don't start. Go ahead.
Unless she wants to.
Yeah. Okay, Liberty Wildcats for the 2019-2020 school data update. Okay. Okay, as you guys know, I'm kind of a data nerd. I love data, so I bring lots of graphs with me. One thing as a principal that I always like to focus on is trend data. Because our students are where they are when they get them, and it's what we want to do is see continual growth. We want to take our students from wherever they're at to as far as we can. Looking at, oh, this is a little pointer, isn't it? Is this a pointer? What is that?
Well, it's supposed to, but
Okay.
sometimes it doesn't work.
So anyways, if you'll look up there in red, the red numbers take us through 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade for the ELA OSTP trend data. And when our 3rd graders in 16, 17, and 3rd grade, they scored, 19% of them scored college and career ready at proficient or advanced. When they went to 4th grade, they dropped 2%. And then in 4th grade, in the 17-18, when that little group moved together to 4th grade, at the end of the year, only 17% of them were college and career ready, scoring proficient or advanced on the test. Then when we take that little group and follow them through 5th grade, they dropped another 3 percentile points to 14%. So to me, as the instructional leader, that's concerning to me because that was 5% drop from 3rd grade to 5th grade. That was concerning for me. Then if we look at our 3rd grade in the 17-18 school year, 29% were scoring proficient or advanced. And then in 18-19, the previous school, just the last school year, only 17% were scoring proficient or advanced in 4th grade. And we will see how well we do in 5th grade this year. We're working on gaining those numbers and bringing them back up. Again, if you look back in 16-17, our 4th graders were scoring 18% of them were proficient or advanced. And they went up in 5th grade in 17-18 with 24% of them. So we did have some gain there.
But Lori, wouldn't one student could make a 5% change?
In a group of 20.
Yeah.
In a group of 20, but you're looking at the whole class, so that would be 40. So it'd be more like 2 students.
Transfers in or transfers out that
Right.
could.
We have, I don't know, on average 20 to 25% mobility at any of the sites. I know at one time Garfield was the highest when I was there, and we had like 26% mobility. So that's still 3/4 of your students are the same students.
And that could.
And
play
that
haywire
could,
with this in a
that
heartbeat.
could.
Typically, it's about 3% for 3 or 4 for every student, it seems like, that we notice across the district.
And I'm like you, I'm a trend data person too, but that doesn't really bother me there because of the mobility issue.
Okay, our math looks a little bit better, and that is that in 16-17, not the trend data necessarily, but last year's scores, our trend data in math, we went 54% in 3rd grade. When they went to 17-18 school year, they dropped to 10%. That is concerning. I don't think we can blame that on students moving in or out. And then in the next grade level, they only gained back 4%. And then in 4th grade, this was a really rough one, 23% in 4th grade, and the next year when they went to 5th grade, only 2%. So we
One
had
person.
one person. So that tells you it's about 2% for every student. And then going back up here to third grade, 37% in 17, 18 were proficient or college and career ready. And then our fourth grade last year brought those third graders all up to 50%, which was higher than the state average for fourth grade statewide. So I was very proud of those fourth grade teachers. And so just kind of looking across there also on our average of proficient and advanced, third overall in third, fourth, and fifth, 36% in 16, 17, 16% in 17, 18, and 32% in 18, 19. Any questions there? Science, we've gone 52%, 10%, 9%. And there's my beloved data walls that I love very much. I like to use them. I think they're interactive. They're living walls. We move those tags based on how the students test. They have to score in a different tier 2 times in a row to move up or down. And then there's a picture. We started off with our reading data. 36% were benchmark at the beginning of the year. 28% are in a high tier 2, or what we call our on watch. They score between the 25th and 49th percentile. Then the lower tier 2, 17% scored between the 10th percentile and the 24th percentile. And then the very bottom tier 3 needs urgent intervention. We have 18%, and that is in the reading. In the math, we're a little bit better. We've got 49% at the beginning of the year scoring benchmark. We've got 26% in a high tier 2 level. We've got 14% in the lower tier 2, and then we've got 10% but scoring below the 10th percentile. And that's what we're starting with. And this is just showing how I have teachers track their data. So when they come to PLCs on Wednesdays, after they've tested, we talk about the movement of their students and whether their percentages are going up, down, stagnant. What can we do? Is there anything we can do to help? Any suggestions? Are any of your students struggling that you need help with? And so that is some of the data that we pull together for our PLCs. And then this is, I'm going to use this. I used it at my prior school. We're going to use it at Liberty because my friend Liz at Lincoln came up with this last year. And I thought it was a phenomenal idea, and I don't mind borrowing from my colleagues. So using those data cards where we're going to show the children where their standard score is, and then put what the standard score has to be, or the skilled score has to be by the time we take the test for them to be ready to score well on the Oklahoma State test. And these scores are highly correlated with doing well on the state test. So it's another way for our third, fourth, and fifth graders to be able to track their own data and see their own growth. So now what? How do we get from where we are now to where we want to be? In ELA, again, we're studying that curriculum framework. The Oklahoma State Department of Education has put together a marvelous framework for ELA and math that we will be using. In ELA, we're going to tighten up that Literacy First framework. It's a little bit loose at Liberty, and we're going to tighten that up and do it more to Fidelity. In K through 2, we're going to improve mastery of our foundational skills, so when they get to third grade, they can primarily focus on fluency and comprehension skills. It's real hard for them to focus on comprehension skills when they're still plugging first and second grade foundational skills. We're going to use those data cards I showed you in third through fifth grade. We're going to use those Kagan structures that enhance student engagement at the desired rigor level. And then in math, we're going to study, again, that curriculum framework from the Oklahoma State Department of Education. Continue using accelerated math in third through fifth. The fourth grade teachers that got such marvelous results, they said they really used accelerated math, and that showed on their test scores. Again, using those data cards in math as well as ELA. And then, again, using those Kagan structures to engage those students in math, but also what's important with Kagan is not just doing a Kagan structure, but doing it at the appropriate rigor level for the standard. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
What kind of turnover have you had, or has your school, since you're new there, had in the last 2 or 3 years?
Fifth grade has changed out every single year, and I just lost a fifth grade teacher and have a new one starting at the semester. Fifth grade has been a real tough spot to fill and to get good, strong teachers in there and that are up to the task.
Could that tie back to your second slide? The loss of teachers?
Fifth grade's tough. Fifth grade is tough, and it's the hardest of the 3 tests. Their scaled scores are phenomenally high. On 3rd and 4th grade, if the kids are scoring about the 60 to 65th percentile, they're probably going to be proficient on the state test. They have to be scoring in the 75th percentile. They have to be high average to above average to score proficient on the 5th grade reading and math. It's very, very high. The expectations are very high.
District-wide, your scaled scores in 3rd, 4th, and 5th were among the top on our baseline data. And we'll talk about that in our PLC.
So I think that Liberty's report card grade I anticipate that it will go up unless the attendance score gets them, because their attendance was poor and below the state average, so that could kick them in the seat of the pants for those 10 points. But if that doesn't hurt us, I'm hoping that this year's report card will be a low C compared to that D the previous year, but we just won't know until November. The teachers are very dedicated. They're really sharp and really honed in on the math. There's just a few things missing in the reading, and I have really, to be honest, I've never worked with a more eager staff. There's so many things that I've implemented with prior staffs, not just here, but in other districts, that made me cringe when I said we were going to do it at Liberty, because I was ready for that I normally get that pushback, and they're like, no, we should be doing this. We know we need to. So they're just fabulous. I've never worked with a group of teachers more eager to grow and want to do what's best for kids. They really are a phenomenal staff. Any more
questions for Laura?
Oh, that was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Made it in her 7-minute time frame, didn't she?
She made it in 9 minutes, yes.
Well,
But after the question, before the questions.
Okay.
She did well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Good job.
It's going to tell us about Lincoln now. Take credit for the data cards.
I will.
You heard that.
All right, let's see, next slide. So I'm going to start with last year's testing results from the Oklahoma State test. And our 3rd grade is in, the red is the ELA test, and the blue on each grade level is going to be math. So our 3rd grade was at 19% last year proficient in ELA and 34% in math. So from the previous year, the ELA stayed the same, 19 the year before that, so it stayed the same, and math went up by 6% in 3rd grade. The 4th grade, the ELA, 18% of the kids scored proficient in the reading, and 50% in math. On the ELA, the 4th grade, it was up by 3% from the previous year, and the math was up by 32% from the previous year. So we're looking good so far. But 5th grade. 5th grade, the ELA, 19% of the kiddos were proficient last year. That was down 9% from the previous year. In math, only 10% were proficient, which was down 8% from the previous year. I don't know why.
Well, you talked to me a little bit about why. Attendance.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to get to that
Okay.
on the slide. Because I had the same math teacher. The math teacher's been there forever. She's a good math teacher. She's a strong math teacher. So, but I'll show you in just a minute. So looking at that data, our weaknesses were, of course, 5th grade ELA and math. In fifth grade, our absences totaled 975, just in fifth grade alone. The fifth grade attendance, 699 absences were counted as chronic, just in the fifth grade, which means they had, well, the next one, 30 of those students who were chronically absent means that they missed more than 16 and a half days of school. That was half of the students, just about half. There were 69 students total in the fifth grade. As a school, we had over 2,000 absences. I think, Shelley, we were the highest, is that correct?
Highest elementary.
Highest elementary in attendance. It was a really bad year for kids coming to school. The other weakness was fourth grade ELA and behavior. Behavior is a weakness in our fifth grade mainly last year, and this year and across grades. So it's been a struggle. What we're doing now through our STAR benchmark testing, the red color is the baseline data for each grade, which those tests were toward the end of beginning of September or end of August. So, and the blue is October. So kindergarten, they started out with 30% being proficient, and the second test in October was 38% being proficient. In first grade, 46 kiddos were proficient at the very beginning of the year, and we've had 51 proficient now, 51%. In second grade, 16% were proficient. Oh, and also, this is reading. And now, 30% were proficient in October. Third grade went from 30 to 42%. Fourth grade from 32 to 35, and fifth grade from 27 to 30. So East grade, of course, has increased, which we wouldn't expect anything but that. I also added in on third, fourth, and fifth, because STAR reading through K through 2, the 50th percentile is on grade level for them. We don't have really a scaled score set by the State Department. But third, fourth, and fifth, we do have scaled scores that are set by the State Department. The problem is as Lori explained, the scaled scores, they are high, especially for fifth grade. In math, you have to score at the 75th percentile, they say, to pass that state test. And that's a high, that's like 3-4 grade levels above what we used to think it was, above fifth grade. So I have the scaled score growth in there in the yellow and to the green. So in third grade, 11% were at that scaled score at the beginning of the year, and then in October, 13%. But the thing about the scaled score, what it's based on, is that scaled score is what they need to be at the end of the year, not currently. So of course we don't expect kids to already know everything that they're supposed to know by the end right now. Does that make sense? I know. So it's kind of hard to explain. But anyway, fourth grade started at 10% and then up to 19%. Fifth grade was 15%, and now they're at 10%. So we're already dipping a little bit in fifth grade. Math is much higher than the reading. So kindergarten doesn't do STAR math. In first grade, 67%, so the kids have stayed the same from their baseline data to October. In second grade, from 25 up to 44% proficient. In third grade, from 47 up to 57% proficient. And then if you look at that scaled score, that's what they're supposed to know by the end of the year. 8% were there already in the beginning of the year, up to 9%. But the other ones are all based on the 50th percentile. So in fourth grade, from 58 to 65, and the scaled score went from 7% to 14%. And then fifth grade, from 61 to 58. And the scaled score is 7 to 10. We're also, I do a lot of data also, and so I've been tracking AR points this year. And so the first number by each grade is how many points, let's say, they earned in September by grade level. So if you drop down to fifth grade, they've earned 961 points, but their average percent correct is 83%. So we want that number to be high because of, that tells us that they're comprehending what they're reading. So if you look at I do it every week. I started in September 20th, and I calculate it every week. So like fourth grade, they're always leading, it seems like. They were leading last year also. They have, as of October 11th, 3,250 AR points, but they're only at 75% average on their comprehension. Fifth grade is at 81%, so I'm giving them a woohoo right there. So we are tracking that. So here's somebody talked about kids that move in and out a while ago. Just this year, we have lost about 18 students already, and we've gained over 40 since our initial data that first line of data that I showed you. So there's been a lot of movement, a lot of ins and outs. So our weaknesses are attendance and behavior. We have proven every year that we have lots of academic growth. We earned a B on our report card last year for academic growth. I'm hoping to get the same thing. We have a lot of growth if they would just be at school.
That's right.
I already said that. We must have students in school in order to teach them, and I can only imagine what we could earn on a final report card if our students came to school on a regular basis. So.
But Liz, you did tell me, since we implemented our new attendance policy, that your attendance is up.
It has been a lot better. There's been some arguments because parents still don't understand that their kids need to be at school. It has been kind of a difficult point to make, but yeah, it has been better. So action plan, besides doing a lot of what Lori said, we set goals that every student grows 2 years in reading and math, according to STAR. We're really trying to develop that self-respect because of all of our behavior issues. We have school-wide reading logs, which we've always had, that are checked every day by the teacher. We have at least 20 minutes of MERP time every day in all classes. We're promoting the Wildcat Way, hopefully for that self-growth, the attendance policy, and then anything else we can do to improve students' desire to succeed. That's my data.
Thank you.
Question. Anybody got any questions for Liz? Obviously, from looking at your slides, you got a fifth grade problem. I mean, that's obvious. Is there a new teacher there or the same teacher?
I believe that was based on attendance.
But in the past, you've had a very good improvement in attendance over the last 2 or 3 years you've talked to us. You've done a lot to improve attendance. How come fifth grade's dropped? Just the particular kids in that class or what?
That's what I believe, yes.
Well, also, the cut score in fifth grade is really high. So they're performing, they have to perform actually at almost the seventh grade level to pass that test. The fifth grade students.
But your attendance really, fifth grade's what's dropped you down.
Oh, yeah, they had a lot of absences.
Fifth grade was low all over the district.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
It wasn't just
Remember,
you.
that was our lowest
I actually
all
wasn't
across.
the lowest.
No.
Liberty.
But no, I have the same, I have the same math teacher. Reading has kind of been shuffled around. Same math teacher.
When I was teaching, sometimes the older kids were kept home to take care of the younger ones. And that's one reason why.
Or to protect the younger ones.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes they'll get in trouble to stay home to protect them.
This was the worst attendance, I believe, that we've had. I mean, I'm talking fifth grade.
Last year.
Yes.
Because you're right, if they're not passing, they're not going to get better. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan. You can raise the bar, but that doesn't necessarily, you can raise rigor, that does not necessarily make the kids smarter. I mean, you can raise the bar all you want, but that ain't going to get them there.
Right.
Especially at the elementary level. We're not going to perform any better than they would otherwise. Raising the bar isn't going to do it. But you're right, Lori, I mean, if the tests are that much harder, we have to have an expectation the score's going to be lower. That's just the way it's going to have to be. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Excuse
confused.
Good job, thank you.
I think, was it last year they changed the test?
I mean, she's got a tough school.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
She's got a tough second year.
The second year? Okay.
2 years ago.
I wonder if you just pick some of those.
And school report cards from our 19 data should be out mid-November, but, you know, you never know if they'll be on time.
You guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you all.
Thank you, good job.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Keep up the good work.
Bye, Miss Sandy.
I know they're trying.
Congratulations.
Okay, next, Shelley's going to tell us
Oh, mine's
about
real easy.
superintendent's report, One Book, One District, the annual reading effort. Shelley will talk about it, and we've got a new addition this year.
We do. We are doing One Book, One District again, and that's basically a community book club where everybody gets involved with Ponca City Public Schools, and a lot of community members get involved, and we provide one book per family. And we have a reading list and activities each day. The site principals talk about the reading assignment the night before. And in the past, we have only done that with elementary. And I've shared with you all some of our initiatives this year, and that is 15 minutes of practicing reading in the classroom, because research shows that that's where the tipping point might lie on academic growth with reading. And the average student in the United States, not just in Ponca City, reads only about 7 minutes per day. And we talked about, what if our football team practiced 7 minutes a day, or our high steppers practice 7 minutes a day? So it's required at every site that we have 15 minutes of independent reading practice each day. So for that reason, we've also added the middle schools into our One Book, One District. And you all have a copy of the 2 books that we're doing. Actually, Nancy and Judy got theirs in curriculum. So our elementary book is A Boy Called Bat, and it's by Elena Arnold, and it's about a little boy, Bixby Alexander Tam, and his life is full of surprises, and his mother is a veterinarian. And she brings home a skunk, and they have to keep this skunk for like a month until she can get it to a wildlife care rescue. And Bat falls in love with the skunk, so he's got a month to convince his mother that a skunk is a great house pet. So that's what the elementary students will be reading. Our middle school students are reading Restart. It's by Gordon Corman, and it's an interesting book. It's about a boy, is his name Chase? Chase, he's a popular boy, and he actually falls off of a roof and hits his head and wakes up in the hospital. He doesn't remember anything about his life. And when he went back to school, some of the kids were glad to see him, and some of the kids acted afraid of him. So as he's getting to know himself and the other kids, he finds out that he had bullying-like behavior. So he has the opportunity to restart his life fresh, and he really considers how he wants to be different as he moves forward. So double duty for our middle school students: practice reading, and then how you can change your whole perspective on your life. And that begins October 28th, correct, Terry? Yes. Yes. And it lasts through sometime in November, 3 weeks.
Yeah, the elementary till the 14th and middle school till the 16th.
A lot of our community members get involved at Team Radio. They talk about it every morning. They follow along reading. A lot of our employees do, and it's a book that we provide, one per family, that the district provides.
Both radio stations get together.
I know a veterinarian that one time brought a calf in and had it for about 2 or 3 weeks down at his shop, trying to get it, at his clinic, trying to get it healthy and going. Maybe you could break down and read a book about a skunk.
You need to read this one, Dr. Kincaid.
Okay, I don't think we need to, I think that was just an informational session, right?
Correct.
Okay, number 6, is that on the One Book, One Reading, Shelley?
That's it.
Okay, go on the consent agenda. Item 6, we have items 1, the agenda with comment, minutes from last meeting. I'll talk briefly about the contracts under 10,000, and then the surplus resolution. We have some things that we're going to basically take to the dumpster. We're not even going to have an auction for them. They were listed in the program. On the contracts under $10,000, I've tried to, there's 21 of them. I've tried to kind of summarize them together. First one is the AT&T maintenance on the existing phone system, just not a big deal. Then we have 5 or 6 what I call professional development for both the students and the teacher training. It's a software from Brighton, Catapult Learning at Roosevelt, Ingenuity, which is Tier 2 and Tier 3, targeted learning at the elementary sites, at all elementary sites. We have a couple leadership programs for both the principals and the students, and a Renaissance Learning at Garfield, and I believe Phillips 66. Yeah, they gave us some more grant money down here for both Liberty and Garfield for some student-centered digital libraries. 5 or 6 activity funds, transportation for the DECA group when they go to New York, High Steppers renting the mansion for Christmas. I'll leave this one, I'll talk about it in a second. Video and software for VOAG, something that Fraser uses out there. Clint Co. has to bore a gas line, well, that's a separate one there. But we also have the Funky Sock Race fundraiser for the Key Club. And I was hoping that if you all have a question, Shelley can answer that one about the Funky Sock fundraiser. So nobody's got?
We do a lot of contests and different things at POHI where it's Crazy Sock Day or whatever, and we send back what we don't sell. So the Key Club's a leadership club, and we'll see how that works out.
It keeps them interested. We also have a contract with Lobby Guard. We had leased it before for Woodlands. They no longer can take care of it, so Brett's having to buy $2,000-3,000 worth of Lobby Guard equipment for Woodlands. We have the agreement that we finally came to terms with the country club for the first semester use of their golf course. That one has been signed for both the boys and the girls, JV and varsity. We have some software to track data from the RSVP for K County volunteers. And then one late addition we had was a memorandum of understanding between the school system here and the Ponca City Police Department and the K County Sheriff's Office. If the Sheriff's Office or the K County Police believe there is trauma involved in a student, one of our students, they want to notify us. They won't give us details particularly, but they want us to be aware of it so we can invoke our processes, procedures for traumatized students or students that are involved with trauma. They want a single point of contact, and Shelley has volunteered to be that contact with the school. So she will get a notification from either the police or the sheriff's office if they believe that there's trauma involved. Is that?
That's correct, and the only message they'll send is handle with care. That just lets us know that the student experienced some kind of trauma the evening before, and that way our counselor and teacher can be aware. Sometimes you have to think about what your rules are, turning in assignments. Sometimes you have to love the kids more than the rules, especially if they've faced trauma, so.
But there are particular procedures and processes that will be implemented depending once Shelley gets the call or the text from them that something has happened. And that's really about all I know about it. Okay, with that said and done, unless there's questions, I'd look for a motion to approve 6-point items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So move.
Got a motion from Dawn and a second from
I'll second.
Judy. Question or comments? Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Aye. Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Motion carries. 7, item 1, consider and take action on the following district financial reports. We talked about most of these things in the Finance Committee. The budget amendments for 19 and 20, general encumbrances, which are the normal encumbrances for the general fund, building fund, child nutrition, bonds, and gifts and endowments. We had some change orders listing as of October 4th, budget analysis reports, bond fund reports, some sanctioning requests that we have, booster club and activity funds. We've got some new changes that are being made. Shelley and Brenda started last week, I guess it was, meeting with some of the activity fund people, starting to explain to them some changes that the board would like to see made. Some are being made this school year. The majority of the changes will be implemented at the start of next school year. I really don't know what all administration's going to recommend. I've seen a preliminary list, but I think that's probably ongoing, and depending on how the meetings go, it'll be some give and take and some two-way conversations about things that we do and we don't do. We had the treasurer's report, and the last item is the ratification approval of payrolls, which I'm sure all 700-plus employees want to make sure that we get approved. Right, Curtis?
I'm assuming that was a long meeting since I wasn't there.
Yeah, boy, it didn't take hardly any time with you gone this time, Don. So do I have a
Don't let
motion?
him fool you, Mr.
Any
Nixon.
questions or comments on any of that? If not, we'll look for a motion to approve items 7(1)A through O.
I'll move for approval.
And I'll second it.
You get that, Jan?
I did.
Questions, comments, call for the vote?
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye. Item 2 is consider and take action on the resolution to K County Election Board calling for the election of the school board member. Gives all the details, the candidate list or so. I do believe we need a motion to inform the K County Election Office of the upcoming school board election. So I look for a motion to approve item 2 under 7.0.
I'll make a motion to approve 7.2.
Have a motion from Judy, a second from David. Call for the vote?
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Okay, item 3, consider and take action on the 2019-2020 Ponca City Public Schools District Site Improvement Title I plans. I want you to know, Lori, I did look at it.
Terry.
Me too.
I actually did.
Terry.
Terry, I mean, that's right, Terry wrote it.
Yeah, we looked at it.
Yeah, you looked at it too, didn't you, Don? Any comments or questions about it?
I'll make a motion to approve 7.3.
Motion from Don, second from
Nancy.
Nancy. Call for the vote?
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye. 4, consider to take action on changes to activity fund custodians with the movement of principals. Katie Thomason now needs to be the activity fund custodian for Garfield, and Lori Cox needs to be the activity fund person for Liberty. So do I have a motion to approve number 4?
I
Yes.
will. Oh, for you.
Motion from Don, second from? David. Call for the vote?
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Motion carries. Number 5, consider and take action on the new and revised board policies. We talked about all these last week. There are 2 policies that I would like to have tabled for the time being. All others, I think, are fine. These are the policies on testing of students and the use of alcohol and illegal chemicals and substances, and then which is a new one, and 7.16-10. I've talked to several of the board members. I think there's just more discussion needs to take place on those 2. So I would look for a motion to approve number 5, exclusive of those 2 policies.
7.5, yes, I approve.
Oh,
Motion.
7.5.
It's number 5, 7.5.
Okay.
Have a motion from Judy
Oh, I thought it was Don.
or Don?
I'll
Okay.
second.
And a second from Judy.
Okay, just one moment.
So we're improving 7.5 exclusive of those 2 that I mentioned.
Could you tell me again which 2?
Okay, it is one of them is a new policy. It's the testing of students and the use of alcohol and illegal chemical substances. The other one is under student behavior,
Okay.
7.16-10.
Okay.
Call for the vote?
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6, we have several recognitions, and we need a resolution to recognize these weeks and dates. One is American Education Week, the week of November 18th through 22nd. I won't bore you, but basically, it's thanking the teachers and the people that make education what it is today. One is the National Education Support Personnel Day, being November 20th, which is a part of that same week. Then we have the National American Indian Heritage Month, being the month of November. And then we have the Celebrate Freedom Week, which basically thanks the veterans for their contribution. And that's during Celebrate Freedom Week, which is November 10 through 16. So I believe we need to approve a resolution just recognizing these weeks. Correct, Shelley?
Correct.
I'll make that resolution.
Okay. Have the resolution from Judy and a second from? David. Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Okay, item 7, consider and take action on the following contracts, agreements. These are the ones over $10,000. We have one with Catapult Learning for Literacy First Training. This is all the new teachers. Item B, and I'll cover all these three, and then we'll just vote on them together. Agreement with Mad Science for science enrichment programming events. This is all elementary schools. And C, agreement with Brighton Education Insight for Behavior for Software and Training. This is the software, and this is for basically traumatized kid type training, isn't it?
Behavior issues.
Behavior issues. Yeah, traumatized is not a good word, for behavior issues. So I'd look for a motion to approve A, B, and C under item 7.
Yeah, either one.
Who?
Take your pick. David, motion, second from Dawn. Comments or questions? Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye. Number 8, consider and take action on the following change orders. This is the Washington School. I always like change orders when we get money back. We get $9,000 back for Washington. B, the Hal and the West Middle School seating. It looked real good. We're getting $51,000 back, but we're not doing the elevator, so eventually we're going to have to pay
Yeah,
some of
that's
that,
right.
some of that back to them. So that's the 2 change orders that we have for this time. Do I have a motion to approve these 2 change orders?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Judy,
I'll second it.
second from Nancy. Call for the vote.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Motion carries. Do we need an executive session?
We do.
Motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, reassignments, resignation, and employment of personnel on the attached detailed personnel report, and to discuss confidential conversations with the board attorney concerning claims and litigations. Do I have a motion to move to executive session?
To move.
Motion from Don, second from
Me?
Judy.
Judy.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid? Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
We're in executive session.
Sorry,
We'll go back into regular session. Recital by the board president that minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Item 12, consider and take action on recommendations for terminations, reassignments, resignations, and employment of personnel. Do I have a motion
Yes.
I'll
and a second from Judy, or from Nancy?
Second, yeah, second. Oh, Nancy,
Yeah.
okay.
Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Dr. Kincaid?
Any new business?
No new business.
Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second, I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries, we're adjourned.